Hey, what's up? It's Comic95 the Savior, and for this video, I want to talk about two different types of scenarios that deals with dating here in Japan as a foreign woman. Now, do keep in mind that everything that I'm talking about can also go for people that are dating in other countries, such as my home country, the US. I want to also state the obvious for anybody that's new here. I am a married woman. I am a black woman. I am not biracial. I've been living in Japan for a long time. It's been almost 10 years. I've had experience doing everything from coming here, going to school, working, being unemployed. I've been through a lot of crap here. And anyway, needless to say, I'm now married. So, I want to talk about something that I find interesting that I find heavily affects the black community here, but I also see a lot of other, white women, other Americans, other Europeans, etc., going through these two extreme problems here. So first, I want to talk about the dating the rich guy. He's made out to be the villain. And I see so many posts all the time where people are writing inside of forums about how their Japanese husband or, normally husband, sometimes boyfriend, who's very well off, he's rich, and things start off fine at first, and then they find more problems later. And I don't know what really goes on inside these relationships. I cannot speak for people's individual relationships, but I can be realistic because I notice there's a pattern, and I know that I've dated men like this myself. I feel like a lot of girls are purposefully ignoring red flags in favor of money, which, trust me, it is very tempting to do. Women aren't the only ones that have this problem, so if you're a man watching this, don't get too happy. Men make this mistake in reverse. Men will go after the pretty girl, not caring about her personality or, the whole what she brings to the table type of thing, what type of partner she is, and they're just fixated on her looks, which is understandable because men are attracted to beauty. That's what they value the most when it comes to women, whereas for most women, we value a man being masculine and security. We want you to have things like height. We want you to be able to provide for us financially. Those are the two most important things for women, whereas for men, ideally, it's simply that you're preferably shorter than him, which makes him feel more masculine, and that you are, of course, beautiful. Now, of course, there's going to be unicorns, exceptions to the rule. We're not talking about you. We're talking about most people. If you could choose the partner that if you could build your own partner and design them as you would like for them to be, they would fall into these two stereotypical groups based off of, whether you're a man or a woman. Assuming that you are straight, this is what you would like. If you're not straight, this video is not for you. I'm talking about straight heterosexual couples. So, anyway, yeah. I find it interesting that people play dumb, like that they don't notice these problems with guys until they've managed to walk down the aisle, oftentimes have their children too, and then they act like they need some sort of escape route, whatever, plan, whatever, to get out of the relationship. And then when they do, they preach to other women to not date men that have money, and the takeaway from it isn't that I chose a bad guy because I was being a bad person, solely going after money. It becomes all men that have money are bad. And then I also find that there's this worship of this average to struggle of type of man. And oh my God, black women fall for this everywhere. It doesn't matter if they're dealing with a white man, an Asian man, another black man, another black person themselves. They just keep falling for this crap. And I wanted to talk about this side of it. That it's like, okay, the issue is not that you're dating a man that has money. You're dating a guy that you only liked because he had money. And now that you actually have him as a husband, you recognize there was nothing to him besides the fact that he has money. You ultimately wanted to have the best of both worlds. You wanted to essentially use him solely for money, which is why you probably quickly chose to marry him or whatever the case happens to be. I got married in 3 months myself. I'm not judging you based on the time frame, but I'm saying for you to have been inside of a situation like that, that more than likely just means that you did a bad job picking your partner. And it's not a matter of trying to put you down or whatever, speak on my high horse, but I'm simply saying you do need to think about what type of person that you're dating. It doesn't matter how long you dated them, but who did you date? Who did you choose to date? And I found myself making this mistake myself. I literally was making these mistakes just last year. So I'm not speaking to you as though I've never been here before. I've been there, done that, and I'm trying to give you wisdom and advice so you don't have to be stupid like me or like these other girls that are going through divorces and trying to figure out how they can run off with the kids and all this other type of crazy crap here in Japan. It's really ridiculous. So, to try to keep things clear, let me start off by talking about the rich scenario, like I was saying. So, for the men that have money, of course, yes, it's no secret that men that have money can choose to be, basically manipulative, unavailable, not romantic, whatever the case happens to be that you're looking for. Those are all definitely true concerns, real problems, and it does exist. Likewise, women that are pretty oftentimes have nasty attitudes. They feel like they can get whatever they want. They don't want to have to ask you for anything twice. They feel like, well, if you don't do it, another man will type of, attitude and mentality, and that's also a problem too. Now, I'm speaking from a woman's perspective, so we're not going to get into that part of it. We're going to talk about our perspective, being a straight woman, as far as things go with men. The reality is you need to think about more than just how much money he makes. While salary is important, you do need to also factor in, how does he treat you? How does he treat his family? What are his goals? What are his plans? And I feel like a lot of people don't ask these things. You're simply trying to ask, when do you plan to get married? Will you marry me? What do you think about kids? And those are great questions to ask too, but when you're dealing with somebody that's rich and has money, etc., you need to be asking a lot more than just, about where he likes to go for vacation and whether he wants to have kids or not. There's more of the getting to know you part that you really have to do, and getting to know his family will be a really big, indicator, whatever, as to what your relationship will be like. My general rule of thumb, while there are exceptions to this rule, a man that has a healthy relationship with his family, none of that ghetto crazy, I don't talk to my family, this person, whatever. I mean, like a normal healthy relationship where they, have family outings, they go see each other for the holidays, they're in constant contact with their family. That is generally a good sign. Not necessarily a mama's boy per se, but you know what I mean. A man that really does truly love his family. That will say a lot about his character when you guys do get married. Ask him questions about his last relationship in further detail, not just on the first date, but I mean, as you get to know each other more and more, ask more questions, ask more probing questions, etc. Find out more about him. And so I'm not going to give a whole video giving you detail on step by step how to weed out bad guys, whatever. I have tons of videos that already do that type of stuff. But I do want to say that there's more to it than just whether he has money or not. Money does not make somebody evil, just like being a beautiful woman doesn't make you a bad person either. You can most certainly be an attractive woman and not have a stank ass attitude. You can also be a man that's well off, not necessarily a millionaire per se, but whatever the case happens to be. You can be a rich guy, a well off man, and also not be manipulative, a-hole, abusive, whatever. So the reality is, the problem was not the fact that the man had money, and dating a man that doesn't have money will not help you avoid these problems. And keep in mind, whether a man has money or not, they all have the potential to cheat. Everyone can cheat, male or female, but the reality is men are typically more likely to cheat, more likely to get tempted to do so, because unlike women, their desire for sex is more on the physical end versus the emotional end. And also, unlike women, men have more of a drive and need for it than women do. That's facts. No matter how much you like it as a woman, it's not as big of a deal to you going without it as it would be for the average man. Don't argue with me. Argue with your daddy. It's facts. So, anyway, yeah, I don't know. I just it really bothered me when I keep seeing it. It's like the problem was not the fact that you dated a guy that had money. The problem is that you saw dollar signs or yen signs and you decided that you didn't care about anything else. You wanted to secure the bag, and then after you secured it, you realized that you made a big mistake. These flashy Louis Vuitton bags, going out to these nice restaurants, etc., is not making up for your lackluster relationship, the lack of love, the lack of sex, the lack of intimacy, the lack of trust, the fighting, the arguing, the abuse, the situations, whatever going on inside your household with your children. You find that there are real problems. Maybe he doesn't want to be involved with parenting them, etc. These are all things you should have thought about and asked about beforehand. I've also seen women that have complained about how their man expects them to be a housewife, etc. And it's like, you came to Japan. This is their country. Duh. It would be no different than how crazy you would seem as a Japanese woman. If you were to come to the U.S. and you were to be shocked by the idea of the fact that maybe your man wants you to be 50-50 with him, whatever. I'm sorry to say this, but it's the truth. Nowadays, it's pretty common in U.S. relationships. So you'd have to be understanding that you need to ask these questions in advance prior to getting married. You don't wait until you're engaged. You don't wait until you've walked down the aisle and then decide, oh, you want me to cook and clean? Like, how did these conversations not come up beforehand? I literally read a ridiculous story from a woman, not even going to say what country she's from, but from another country, and they got married abroad, and upon coming to Japan, she found out that her husband basically wanted her to be a housewife and, make lunches for him, etc., and quit her job, and she wasn't okay with it. So she wanted to get a divorce. And I'm like, you were married to this man before you came to Japan. Like, how did you not think to ask these questions? Like, what? So I understand her feeling if that's what she truly wants to do, but also it's kind of a slap in the face to other women that wish they were in your position. I'm not a hater, I'm already a housewife. I'm just saying for other women that wish they were in your position, they would gladly give up having to work to be a housewife. Because being a housewife is still work. It is not just relaxation and spas all day. But it is a very big difference between being a housewife or, Sam, stay-at-home mom, versus being, a career woman. We're working a regular job. So yeah, those are things that you do need to discuss and talk about beforehand, not after you get married. And see, there's a lack of accountability. They don't talk about these things. The partner's made out to be a jerk. He's rich and he thinks that, women owe him everything and he's a misogynist, whatever. It's like, no, he's trying to do things traditionally. And honestly, a Japanese woman would gladly take your place, because most people wish Japanese, American, whatever country you are, they would gladly give up, their jobs to do what you're doing. They wish they were in your shoes, in your position. They would gladly take your man. Most of them would love to be a housewife. That's the reality. So, of course, while being a career woman seems glamorized and whatnot, because we've all been brainwashed. This is what we should want to do. Don't rely on a man. Don't depend on nobody. And support yourself, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, the difference between relationships nowadays and back in the day is that our grandparents, great-grandparents, etc., beyond the abusive situations, I'm not going to talk about those relationships because those were a problem too. I'm not going to ignore that part of the statistics. But I will also be honest. Not everybody had a relationship where their partner was cheating them, being abusive towards them. They simply knew how to work on their problems and overcome them. Whereas nowadays, we get into a little fight, a little argument, and we're done. We don't want to talk. We don't want to go through counseling. We don't want to speak to each other. We just rather get a divorce and be done with it. This is why you have so many people that have been married for less than a year, 3 months, 6 months, etc., and they throw in the towel and they're done with each other already because they got into 1 or 2 big fights. I've argued with my husband a gazillion times. We've gotten into it a lot, and we haven't even been married for a full year yet. As of the making of this video, we're almost there. And with that said, I can also be honest with you and tell you that even although that's so, one thing that we've always done, and that we, really what made us like each other a lot too, is that we both understand each other. When we have fights, when we have arguments, etc., we can always forgive each other. We can talk to each other. We can explain how we felt, what we did wrong. We can try to listen to the other person, try to understand them. We might need a second to cool off, but we never go 24 hours like just being straight up mad at each other. We always find a way to work things out, and we've agreed upon doing that. And I feel like a lot of people skip over those steps. You just want to say that your husband has this really good job. He's a surgeon. He's a lawyer. He's, whatever the case happens to be. He's, a business owner. You want that type of lifestyle. And I've been there, done it. I've dated guys like that too. I was putting up with all type of bullcrap, from being cheated on, to lied to being used for sex, and I wanted to believe ultimately he'll marry me, right? And of course that didn't happen for me. But for some of you, you do get married, and then you realize he's not going to change his ways just because he's married. Not to mention, a lot of people know how to pretend to be nice, but honestly, if you're doing your due diligence and asking the right questions, meeting the right people, and not being blinded by yin signs, if you're to really take accountability, because if people don't want to take accountability, they'll claim there were no signs, he just did a 180 whatever and change, and I promise you 9 times out of 10 that's not the case. In fact, I hate to put my family business out there, but I think about my own mother. That's how she describes my dad, and from my perspective, it's like that couldn't be further from the truth. He literally gave my mother clear red flags, clear signs that he was not going to make a good father, that he was not going to make a good husband, and for God knows what reason, she ignored all of the shit and wanted to believe in what she thought he was based off of their childhood together. And it's like, man, that was like 20 plus years ago. Welcome to real life. This is reality. Mom said my daddy's name. The father that I had back then, the man that you knew back then, is not who he is right now. And she stupidly, made her bed and laid in it. And that's on her. Sorry to put mom out there, but I'm being real with you. Okay, so now that I gave my own personal family business, let me say that you're doing the exact same thing. Or these women are. They don't want to take accountability and admit, I was dumb. I made a mistake. I saw dollar signs. I saw, oh my God, he's 6'1". Whatever the case happens to be. And in this case, we're talking about dealing with money. And you decided that you were going to completely ignore all of his faults, all of his flaws, and the relationship, etc. And I'm not talking about physical, like, oh, he's not cute, or whatever, not those type of flaws. I mean like the way that he treats you, his personality, his mannerisms. Even guys that are, just notoriously, narcissistic and just completely bad all the way around, they give you signs, because even the fakest of fake people, they're easy to see through when you have experience with dating. And so I find that it's oftentimes just people doing a lack of research on their partners before they get into a marriage with them. And so I even think about people that I dated in the past and I made dumb mistakes. Now, hindsight is 2020. When I look back at these relationships, I'm like, it was very obvious that this person was not serious about me. It was very obvious that this relationship was not going to work, that he was abusive, that he was a bad person, and I ignored these things. That's facts. It's my fault. And it had nothing to do with the fact that the guy had money. It was a matter of me not caring about the other qualities about him. I just saw he had money, and that was enough reason to date him. That's the real problem. So, aside from that, I just want to say, basically, don't be afraid of dating Japanese guys that have money, whatever. They're not all jerks. They're not all rude, mean, whatever. Sorry, just my computer. They're not all rude, mean, or whatever. But what you do need to keep in mind is that a lot of men will blind you by the fact that they have money. You'll get distracted by that, and you'll ignore the other qualities about them. Likewise, same thing goes for women. Oftentimes, again, I'm not going to speak of women so much, but for men, they'll see a woman that looks beautiful, and they don't think about the other baggage that comes with them. Is she a faithful partner? Is she willing to cook and clean? Does she plan to be a career woman? Do these things line up with what you want? And people don't ask these questions. Then they end up upset when their requirements or whatever, their needs, their wants don't align with one another. This is important stuff to talk about before you get married, not afterwards, and definitely before you have kids. And honestly, I feel like you're one of the worst of the worst of people if you choose to bring children into a situation like that, because I promise you, just like my mama was, 9 times out of 10, emphasis on 9 times out of 10, there's always going to be some exception to the rule. I'm talking about most people. It's not to make you feel bad, but rather I'm just speaking for women really that aren't married yet, that are hearing these stories and seeing this stuff and are getting inspired by this. Oh my god, I should marry a rich man. Ignore that bad advice and think about what type of person was this guy that she was with. Was the problem really that he had money, or was it that she was chasing after him because he had money? Because see, money, it can solve your financial problems. It ain't gonna solve your relationship problems. And say people don't think about that part, but it doesn't solve the physical and emotional side of a relationship. And so a lot of women don't bother to even ask about that type of stuff. They're just worried about the money part. They want to win him over by being cute and feminine and whatever else. And then when they actually get married, they realize, oh my god, this dude is a total monster. And that can and does happen. I'm not going to pretend like all rich guys are these nice, wonderful men, etc. That's not the purpose in this. So I just think it's so ignorant and wrong for you to bring children into the picture, because I also find that a lot of times women call themselves trying to get pregnant quickly to secure the bag, and then they find out, oh my god, it's a horrible person, he's abusive, whatever. It's like, you didn't see this beforehand? Really? I find that hard to believe. And so again, don't get me wrong, a guy can definitely go from never putting his hands on you excuse me, to suddenly hitting you, but he'll give you signs beforehand that he's capable of doing that 9 times out of 10. He ain't gonna just blindside you and smack you upside your head out of nowhere. You probably got hints that he was like this by him yelling at you, getting into fights and arguments with him, etc. beforehand, and then finally after 6 months or a year into a relationship, he puts his hands on you, and now you're so shocked and stunned, and it's like, no, he gave you signs that he was a type of monster beforehand, and you decided to ignore that. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm not giving relationship advice to people that are already married, but rather I'm talking to women, like I said before, that are looking to get married. You're listening to these women tell you these horror stories about marrying a rich man, because I'm not seeing like these comment sections, oh yeah, girl, see, that's why I don't date guys that have money. I don't date guys that have, that's why I do 50-50, blah, blah. I want to be able to take care of myself, this, that, and the other. And it's like, that's speaking out of fear. If you're inside of a loving, normal, emphasis on normal relationship, you should not have to be worried about if you get a divorce, what happens, is he going to run off with the kids. These are not normal problems to have. These are issues that come up, again, 99.9% of the time, because people choose to date partners that are not good. They don't do due diligence and do their own research and look into these people on their own. They don't ask the questions that they ask. They don't bother to meet their friends and family and really get to know them. They're so busy trying to make everybody like them and see them as the perfect partner for that man. And they're so busy trying to pretend like they're the perfect wife for him too, that they ignore all the things that really matter. They ignore all the red flags. And see, after you secure him, all the bells and whistles fall off. You're no longer impressed by the, going out to steakhouses because you do it all the time now. Then you start realizing there's other problems. So yes, while you're getting taken care of, you're getting the luxury stuff that you want, you're not being taken care of physically. You're not being taken care of emotionally, intimately, etc. You find that your relationship is abusive. You find all these other problems and faults that have been there since the beginning. You just weren't looking for them because you didn't care about them. You were solely focused on the fact this guy is rich. You're going to be living a life. You're going to be a housewife. You're going to be a stay-at-home mom. That's what you have inside your mind. That's why a lot of these girls, like I said, they quickly get pregnant to secure that bag. So again, let me reemphasize. The problem is not dating a guy for too short of a period of time. For not long enough. But rather, dating a guy quickly and not asking the stuff you need to ask. And again, let me also put myself back into the ring here too. I've said this before. While I only dated my husband for a few months prior to us getting married, I asked a ton of questions. I met his friends. I met his family. And on top of that, we actually lived together. And we were seeing each other literally every day. All day. We got into fights, we got into arguments, we did all of that stuff. And so I already knew what I was getting myself into prior to us getting married. So that's important for you to do prior to getting married. Not necessarily living together per se, but you definitely need to spend a lot of time with each other, meaning more than just dating once or twice a week. You need to really get to know each other if you are going to get married within a short period of time, because you don't want to make a mistake. But do also keep in mind that you can definitely date a guy for a year, 2 years, whatever. He might not put his hands on you and then do it during the third year. That's true. But again, you're normally given red flags and signs that he was capable of doing this beforehand. So before you listen to these girls that are trying to talk you out of marrying that rich guy or dating this rich guy and trying to burn out you and thinking, oh, he's going to manipulate you, he's going to do whatever to you, that's not normally the case. Rather, these women don't understand that the reason why all this stuff happened was they ignored these signs in favor of his pockets. So, off of that, for the second half of this video, I want to talk about the bigger factor that really irritated me the most. The struggle of. I keep seeing women talk about this like they feel empowered by it until it all backfires in their face. And people like to talk about this in the reverse. This is how you normally hear it. So you normally hear about this in the reverse. When a girl that's married to a rich man, when they get a divorce, and then all of her luxury, rich girl lifestyle type of stuff goes out the window. When you hear about that, then that type of stuff is what people say, oh, see, this is the reason why, I don't date whatever, blah, blah. But you don't hear this in the reverse with the broke men. I see so many black women here that get married to Japanese men who are just losers. They have no college education. They have no career. They didn't graduate with a bachelor's, master's, doctorate, whatever. They're just bums. They're making minimum wage. They're working unstable jobs. They're doing gigs. They're into alternative lifestyles, etc. And these girls marry them. And even dumber, they get a baby with them. And it's like, oh my God. And so, of course, well, whatever works for you. I'm not going to get into your marriage life, whatever. That's good for you. But I will say, I find it funny how people expect their partner to be different than what they married. And it's like, you knew who this man was prior to getting married to him. You knew what his job was. You knew what his education was. Or if you didn't know, why didn't you ask us prior to getting married? And so, it's even people just finding out that their husband, or spouse, whatever, lied about their age. And it's like, you didn't see his ID prior to getting married. I don't even understand that type of stuff. But it happens. It happens all the time. And so it's like, okay, so you're not taking accountability for the fact that you purposely, willingly chose to date out of desperation somebody that you knew you didn't want. For example, if you know you want to be a housewife, why are you dating men that can't give you a housewife type of life? That makes zero sense. If you're a man that only likes skinny girls, you'd be a fool to be dating a plus size woman, because the reality is she's not going to get down to a size 2. You'd be lucky if she drops to a size 16. So, just little things like this that people stupidly do, and they expect their partner to change, or they don't expect them to change, but then they feel resentful for the entirety of the relationship. So in these situations where you date a guy that you know has nothing to offer but struggle of, then you get upset when you see, oh my God, my kid can't go to the school that I want to. They can't go to this private international school. I can't afford to pay for daycare. He's not able to pick them up from school. Or even worse, he's bad with money. I'm making most of the money. He's blowing my money because we have a shared savings account. All of this little stupid stuff like this. And again, people make mistakes, and I'm trying to bash you for that mistake. And I'm not really talking to these women, but rather to people that are reading these stories, etc. Please look at these girls that are married to these broke men and ask yourself, do you want that lifestyle? If you enjoy struggle love, by all means, sign up for it. But if you're anything like me, and you've decided I don't ever have to do any of that type of ghetto crap, don't date a guy that doesn't have a career. Don't date a guy that doesn't have a bachelor's degree minimum. Don't date a guy based off of potential. And I'm sorry, but love does not pay bills. I cannot say that enough. Yes, love is important, but a relationship is more than just loving each other. It is also a financial exchange. You need to be able to pay your bills. You need to be able to afford housing and food and childcare should you need it if you are not going to be a housewife. And those type of things are a problem, especially if you as the foreign partner, you're the one making the bulk of the income. Your partner is irresponsible with finances, etc. And it's like, how do y'all not get into these conversations prior to getting married? And I feel even worse when there's children involved. And so again, this is not to, kick women when they're down. I'm not talking to them, I'm talking to people that are looking at these stories, telling you don't be like them. Because see, the problem isn't all Japanese men. It isn't, all whatever. It's their poor choices. You knew you did not want to be having to pull the weight, paying for the bills, etc. And you stupidly married him anyway because you wanted to get married, you wanted to have a child, you wanted to get an easy work visa. And then when you find out, oh my God, this relationship is trash. He's using all my money. He's on drugs. He doesn't take care of our child. You're dealing with all these problems, all these situations. You don't get along with his family. There's drama. You having to worry, are my bills going to get paid this month, etc. Then you feel resentful. Now you're angry that you made this poor decision to marry him. And that's the problem. People leave out the poor decision on their part. And it's like, that's your own fault. I'm sorry to put it that way, but it is. I've been there before too. I've dated plenty of people where, again, it was my own fault. I knew what they were like. I tried to make them something that they were not. Ended up wasting years of my life. I've been there, done that myself. I'm not speaking on my high horse. I've been in your shoes. But I'm here to also say for women that are listening to these stories, reading these stories, talking to these women, think about why they got married to this person. How they got married. When. Ask yourself. So she didn't know about his finances beforehand? You didn't know he was 51 and not 31 beforehand? Like, you didn't see his ID before you got married? Like, what? So, just little things. Listen, again, people make mistakes. People have to learn. I'm not trying to bash you for that. But I am saying I wish women were more honest about why relationships don't work out. So what I really want to get at is, I would never support this idea, and I hope my children don't follow these footsteps of these girls, and I want to teach them that it is important, and I want my husband to teach me that too. It is important for your partner to be able to provide. And yes, I do want you as a woman, you should have your own skills, your own ability to bring in income should you have to do so. But you should never be inside of a position where you have to worry about whether bills are going to get paid, whether you can feed your child or not, because your husband is irresponsible and blowing his money on drugs and gambling, etc. Like, oh my God, so many crazy stories here. Your husband spend all of his money at, pachinko, or spend all of his money going to, host clubs or whatever. And it's like, okay, I'm sorry, but I gotta keep it real with you. You married a guy that you met on some, I don't know, wannabe black type of party club type of person, a DJ type guy. You married one of those type of people. You married the guy working at 7-Eleven part-time, half-time DJ. Doing something, crazy stuff like this. It seems fun when you're a college student and when you're trying to write an anime like Nana or something. But when we're talking about real life, real money, real bills, real lifestyle, you do not want to be in a struggle relationship like that. Because the reality is, it's not just money. I hate to say this, but it's the truth. Just like how there's a stereotype about rich men, having this jerk, manipulative personality, oftentimes find that poor people have the same thing. People that are any one extreme. It ain't everybody, but there are a lot of people that fall into this category. They are typically not serious about being a true father, a true husband, a true partner. And the other problem too that a lot of men fail to understand too, it is not easy, and nor is it normal. And some women don't understand this either. Nor is it normal for a woman to go right back to working after pushing a baby out of her vagina. But people do it all the time, every day. And all I can say is that is not going to be me. I do not want that to be me unless I absolutely have to be inside of a situation like that. I pray to God that never happens to me. But I would never purposefully set myself up where I have a partner who can't even afford for me to, take a month or two off of work to care for my baby. Because we have to worry about bills getting paid and my salary is needed. And so if you know that's going to bother you, if you know you're going to feel envious seeing the other women around you that are housewives, that are going on nice family vacations, etc., why would you marry the pookie who can afford to take you guys out on a cruise, who can afford to take the family out for Christmas dinner, etc.? Think about these things before you get married, not after you do. And if it wasn't bad enough that you made the poor decision to marry this person, come on, you bring a child into the world too? So stupid. So again, all I gotta say is, The problem is not Japanese men. The problem is not rich men. It's honestly not even just poor men necessarily. It's also getting to understand yourself. What do you want? What do you need? And getting to know them and thinking about what they want, what they need, asking direct questions, looking for, subliminal messages, signs, hints, whatever, because people can and do lie to you. If you ask an abusive person, are you abusive? What's the likelihood of them going to say, oh yes, of course I am? Of course they're going to deny it. That's just facts. So the reality is, you are going to have to look and see, why did him and his ex break up? How does he handle situations where we disagree? Why I do something that makes him upset? When I'm being too silly with him, when he, gets annoyed with me, how does he react and respond to those type of situations? See, people ignore all of this stuff. And then they cry online, they're looking for help for getting divorced, they need lawyers, and I feel sorry for them to be in such a situation. I feel even more sorry for the children. But honestly, it's your own fault. It was all easily preventable. I've done plenty of dumb things, from handling my finances poorly to, handling my education poorly, where I couldn't blame anyone but myself. No problem with accountability over here on this side. I'm simply saying, please don't listen to these women preaching this gospel to you that you need to be single and alone because men here in Japan ain't shit, and don't marry a rich man because he gonna steal the kids from you and take all the money. It's like, all these crazy bad relationships are really a problem of your problem as the woman. You chose a bad partner and you don't want to take accountability. Instead, it's easier to say men are bad, men are monsters, don't date them, don't marry them, don't sleep with them, don't reproduce. That's much easier to say than to say, I was stupid, I liked the fact that he had money, I wanted to get a diamond ring, I wanted to get married, and so I stupidly went ahead and did it, and I made a mistake. You can date a guy for 3 years and make this mistake because you're so fixated on his finances and on the status of becoming his wife and or getting a visa in this situation being in Japan. That's the reality. Much easier to admit. And they will never tell you that the problem was themselves. It was their poor decision making. It was their choice to marry someone who they knew could not give them the lifestyle that they wanted to have. And I often see this with girls marrying guys that are the same age as them too. For example, a girl that's 22 or whatever marrying a 24-year-old, and then you wondering why you're struggling to pay bills, etc. And like, oh my god, or even younger than that, marrying like a 19, 20-year-old. And it's like, okay, of course he's a college student. You're going to be dealing with struggle love. And you're taking a gamble because he may or may not go to med school like he's claiming he's going to do. He may or may not, become a lawyer like how he claims he's going to do. Anybody could say that, a pre-med whatever or a med student whatever when you're in your early 20s. How's it going to pan out in your late 20s, early 30s, etc.? Are you going to actually become a doctor? So you're taking a gamble with these type of men. And so I'm not going to get into all the crap. All I have to say is this. Just understand you should not be dating people based off of potential. Date them where they are, for who they are, for what they have, right then and there, and think about your future with them too. If you know having children is of importance to you, and if you know you can see yourself in the future wanting to be a housewife or at least having the option of that, don't marry a man that is not able to provide that today. Not tomorrow, not a week from now, not a month from now, not a year from now, today. Because anything else is a gamble and a chance. You'll hear wonderful stories from women telling you how, oh, I married this guy, he was a bum on the corner store and whatever, and 20 years later he became a neurosurgeon. You'll hear all type of crazy stories like that. But the reality is, this will not happen for most people. Instead, your time, your money, your effort, your energy will go down the drain. You're going to end up inside of a nasty custody, divorce battle, whatever type of crap that nobody wants to have to deal with. So, with that said, save yourself a lot of time, money, energy, and simply date who you want now. Not who you want them to be, who you want now. And that was the same thing for men as well. So anyway, all I want to say is this. Please think about what your partner provides, what they bring to the table, what type of person they are. Think about these things. Ask these questions. You can do it in a short period of time. You don't have to date them for a year, 10 years. I'm not trying to suggest that. I'm simply saying, ask questions, look for signs, and look more than you talk. Listen more than you talk. Don't just find yourself speaking. Don't just think about money. Think about what he's like as a person. Because while yes, money is very important, and you shouldn't ignore it, so you don't end up inside of a dusty relationship with some bum man or whatever. So I'm trying to tell you to do. But you don't want to value money so much that you forget about your own well-being physically and mentally. That's very important as well. Likewise, you also want to make sure, again, that while money is not going to be the only thing on the table as well, think about yourself too. oftentimes there are also problems in a relationship because of things that you may have done, you may have said, your behavior, your actions, etc., that can also cause problems. And understand, you are in a foreign country, okay? You are in Japan. You are the foreigner that chose to come here, not the other way around. So you need to be assimilated and adjusting more to his culture, but out of love and out of respect, he should also try to meet you at least 30-40%. I wouldn't say halfway, because again, I feel like it's unreasonable. For example, if I were to be in the US, I would probably change the way that I want to run some things inside of my household, simply because it's a different country. So, for example, I would say in my relationship, some things are going to have to change. I'm the one that speaks better English, so obviously when we go to a restaurant or something like that, I'm probably going to be the one placing orders, etc. I said this before, but normally I would prefer that my husband does it. But I understand English is not his first language, so I prefer that I do it, so that this way I can make sure I get what I want and that things are done correctly. And I can also make suggestions, ask probing questions, whatever things I need to do that my husband wouldn't think to do because it's a cultural difference. That's fine. So, what I want to say is, people that are like so against the idea of doing housework or whatever, I understand your feelings, but this is why you need to talk about this before you get married, not after you get married, because I feel like it's unfair to your husband. You're asking him to change the way that he was brought up, raised, and taught things supposed to work inside of a household, all for you, which sure, you're his wife, but I feel like that's kind of a bit of a trick, so to speak. I would personally be offended if my husband were to, do something like that to me in the US. So really think about your husband's culture and what they want to, and be fair to your partner. That's also important as well, because a relationship is not all about you. And women oftentimes don't think about that side of it, or talk about the side of it. We just talk about what we need and what we want, but it's like, okay, what does your partner need and want besides just sex? And I think that people don't think any deeper than just that. And so do keep in mind that men also like to have freedom. They like to have peace of mind. They don't like to have to constantly argue with you. They don't like feeling like you don't trust them, like they always have to have, watching over their shoulder. They can have no privacy, no passwords, no nothing. They need their own space. That's important. And the reality is, if you can't trust them to have that, you shouldn't be married to them. You shouldn't be with them. People lie, people cheat. I'm not saying that this will not happen, but I will also say that you should also think to yourself too, before you quickly move on. Is it just going to happen again anyway? Because is it worth it to keep getting a divorce, keep breaking up every time somebody cheats on you, lies to you, whatever? I'm not encouraging it, but I am just saying, I feel like it depends on the relationship, the reason why, when, where, whatever. All of those things should be taken into consideration. I think a lot of people are so quick to just get mad one day and be done with the relationship altogether, never want to talk again, be through with it, and then they'll give bad advice to women and say, don't get married, don't date, men are trash, men suck, blah, blah, blah. And so, again, I get where they're coming from, they're speaking out of anger, but it's like, where's the accountability on your own end? You dated a trash partner. You chose a partner for the wrong reasons. And again, don't get me wrong, wrong reasons does not mean money is bad. It means that money should not be the sole purpose, and likewise, for men, looks should not be the sole purpose. A beautiful girl is not enough reason to marry her. A young woman is not enough reason to marry her. There has to be more that she brings than just that. And not bring to say whatever, but I mean, think about how she treats you. What is life going to be like with her? What type of mother will she be? What type of wife will she be? Ask yourself these questions. And see, most people don't. They just want people to be gawking over their girl, like, oh damn, she fine as hell, look at that fat ass. They want that type of attention. I mean, her drugs, whatever. They want that type of attention. They want people to look at their wife, at their girl, and be like, wow, I wish that was mine. So, oh man, you did good. They want that sort of attention. But they don't think about what things are going to be like behind closed doors. They don't think about what it's going to be like going out to dinner together, going shopping together. They don't ask themselves these questions. And then they're upset and frustrated after they get married. It happens to rich men too. They get taken advantage of as well. We don't talk about it so much, but it does happen. Men get taken advantage of when they have money, because a lot of them too, they're guys, they were the nice guy, the nerdy guy, whatever. They were on their business, went to school, got a good education, got a good job, and now all of the women want them. And they'll oftentimes find themselves chasing after the most beautiful girls. And let's keep it real, what do these girls normally do? They use them for their money. They get their meals, they get their bags, they get their nails and hair done, and they're out the door. Or they marry them, but then they cheat on them. It happens. Now, the takeaway can be don't date a beautiful woman, but the reality is don't date a gold digger. See how there's a difference in that? The takeaway is not don't date a guy that has money. Don't date a guy that's well off. Don't, ever be in a relationship where you're a housewife, whatever. That's not the takeaway. The takeaway is marry somebody that actually loves you, where you don't have to look over your back, have a secret savings account, and worry, etc. That's the reality. If you're having to hide things from your partner like that, you don't trust them. That's the truth. And you have to ask yourself, why be married to someone that you can't trust? And take accountability. There's nothing wrong with admitting that you made a mistake. For the women that did this, there's nothing wrong with admitting, I made a mistake, I shouldn't have married him, I ignored these things. But please don't lie to other women and discourage them from getting married or going out and dating or doing their own thing, but making it seem like all of these men are just horrible, whatever, when the reality is, you were attracting horrible men because of your horrible personality. You were attracting bad men because you were purposefully choosing to only date guys that had money and you didn't care about anything else. Their looks didn't matter, the personality didn't matter, etc. Again, I've been there, done it, I understand. Again, money is very important. I'm not telling you to ignore it because, again, I also don't want you to be like these struggle love girls that want to believe that love pays bills and they just want to get married, they just want to have a ring. And then it's like, okay, you have his last name, but you have no other form of security. You're always wondering each month, is my water going to get turned off? Am I going to have enough money to put gas in my tank? Can I afford, my daughter's, daycare tuition for this month? Can I put my son in international school for next semester? You're always having to think about these things. And it's like, this is why you do need to think about money. You do need to care about money. And remember, money is one of the biggest reasons why people typically get a divorce. You can't ignore that. It's needed for life. Not to mention your child's quality of life too. Your child also suffers in this as well, which is really unfair and selfish as a parent to put a baby through such a situation like that as well. They need and want things too. If you're in a struggle relationship like that, you can't afford to put your child through college. So much more can be said about this, so I'm really done. I just want to say, again, to wrap up this whole video, the problem is not rich men have so much money, they're bad, abusive, whatever. Those things can happen. But the problem is you choose them in just because they have money. The problem is not Japanese men or marriage is bad. The problem is you didn't care who you married. You wanted to believe, oh, love is all it takes. Just love each other. I love him, he loves me. Hey, we're into the same music, or hey, we both like black culture, whatever. And then you marry this, wannabe J nigga type person, whatever. And you find out, oh, he's a horrible father. He's financially irresponsible. He's not a provider. He's abusive. He's argumentative, etc. It's like, well, there you go. That's why you don't just marry people just because you think you love them. Struggle love does not prevail. Struggle love does not defeat, all whatever. It doesn't work that way. And it's like having most of you, especially for black women, keeping it real, most of y'all saw y'all mama and daddy do the same thing. And it's like, why would you try to do that again in another country? Like, that's part of what fueled me to want to marry the person that I did to begin with. The type of person that I did. I knew from my upbringing that I did not want to be inside of a relationship like my parents' relationship. I did not want to be in a position where I have multiple kids. I'm having to work. I'm the only person working because my husband is out doing drugs and doing God knows what. I did not want that sort of relationship for myself. I wanted to make sure that my life and my children's life would be secure, and that we'd be taken care of, and then we can go on vacations, and then we can eat good food. I wanted us to have a good life with good memories. And so I purposefully made sure that I only dated men that provided that sort of lifestyle. But in addition to that, I refused to marry anyone who I felt was incapable of providing that lifestyle on an emotional level too. Because see, money was easy to come by. I dated tons of men that had money, several of which who actually wanted to marry me. I had the option to get married years ago, and I turned down each one. And it was not easy to do. It was typically like, just a split second. I was like, nope, something's wrong. I shouldn't be with that guy. I got it, and it's right here. Nope. Red flag, shouldn't have done that. Yellow flag, nope, I'm through. I recognized this was gonna, become a bigger problem later on. It's small now, but if you're doing this to me, we're not even married yet, it's gonna get worse after we get married. So I let it go. And see, most women don't do that. You find a problem, a red flag, yellow flag, whatever, and you're like, but he has money. Okay, well, let's just ignore it. Okay, you sweetheart. And you play your little role, etc. And then after you get married, you realize I made a mistake. But instead of saying you made the mistake, you believe that men are just bad, you should have never got married. The mistake was not getting married. The mistake is who you chose to marry, why you chose to marry them. The mistake was you ignoring the red flags that were clearly, obviously there. That's the reality. So, that's all. So anyway, yes, that's it. I'm not telling you this because my relationship's perfect. It is not. Like I said, we go through real life here all the time. I talk about it on Patreon too. That's not the purpose in this video. I'm simply saying that I'm so tired of this dumb narrative of, women trying to pretend here in Japan like, it's bad that men that have money or that having a job is the answer to all of these problems, etc. It's like, that has nothing to do with it. If you're married to a private partner, having a job won't change that. Not to mention, I'm sorry, I would rather not have a job and see your true colors than you pretend to treat me well because I'm working and then treat me like crap because I'm not. Like, what? Do you hear yourself? I would just rather have a partner that truly loves me. So I'm sorry if whether you have your own money and secret savings account, etc., is going to make a difference to your relationship. If it really does, you shouldn't be married then. I'm just being real with you. You really shouldn't. I get it why you want to have it for security purposes. I understand that. It's a trauma response. You're used to seeing relationships break up. You're used to seeing people, get a divorce, etc. But you're not used to seeing accountability. You're not used to seeing people admitting why they got a divorce. Because, see, it seems so easy to believe people are getting a divorce because most men are just bad or most women are just bad. When the reality is, most people are bad at choosing good partners. Most people don't look into who their partner truly is until after they have fights and arguments, after they've already walked down the aisle, and that is a huge mistake. So I'm done with this video. Again, feel free to argue with me inside the comments. I hope it made sense to you guys. Please leave a comment down below, like this video if you have not already, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already as well. As always, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter. All of the links for my social media are in the description box down below. And if you want to support my channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon for $5 per month. I have over 150 videos that you will instantly gain access to immediately upon signing up. Please do not sign up unless you can afford to pay your pledge at the moment of sign up, or you will be blocked. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for this video. So you can always check out my YouTube channel's homepage. I have tons of playlists and videos on living, working, studying, and dating in Japan. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below, or you can send me an email privately, and I will try my best to answer your question in another video. So thank you so much for listening, and thank you for watching, and I hope you'll watch another video.